Hey, what's up, Schwartz Force? Welcome back to the channel. As you can see, I got a special guest, and even though I've talked and hung out with this guy a whole lot, it may be new for you. So this is Miguel with SoCal Watch Reviews. I'm going to link his channel down below, so you should definitely go send some love to him if you're not already following him. His content has gotten like into the stratosphere as far as quality.
Oh, God.
So you'll really enjoy him. So check him out. But Miguel, just in case, for all the new people watching, give us a little introduction about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, man, thank you so much for having me on. We've spoken so much and texted and all that it almost feels like we've collaborated, but I guess you're right. We really haven't. I mean, we've had you on our show, and just for everybody out there that doesn't know me, I am Miguel from SoCal Watch Reviews. I've been collecting watches for about 6-7 years now and really gotten into the hobby. I run a YouTube channel by the name of SoCal Watch Reviews, as well as a weekly podcast by the name of SoCal Watch Reviews with my friend P. Ross from Ross Wristwatch Love. So go check him out as well. I also have an Instagram page, post daily, sometimes twice daily, SoCal Watch Reviews. And then I have a Spanish channel, which I've been neglecting a little bit because I've been so busy on my English one, but Relojeando, and that's all in Spanish. Basically, my content in English, I just translated into Spanish, so it's a lot of work. But hey, keep doing it because I love it, and I want to just, keep spreading the love and get people into watches. So thanks for having me on.
Yeah, dude, orale. I'm gonna have to check out that. I'm gonna learn some Spanish and go check out your other channel.
Go for it.
All right, cool. Well, we definitely. So I had some topics, and when you had me on your podcast, we kind of went into like talking mainly about homage watches, right? That was kind of the majority of it. But I wanted to, because I know you have some older and vintage style watches that you've picked up.
Sure.
And I wanted to share, and I've bought a few used watches. And I wanted to just kind of go over like the process of what do you do as far as shopping for and buying a used or vintage watch or something on the secondary market. Like, what's your tactics or tips you have? Because like there's so much, right? And vintage, I would imagine you can only research so much on certain watches anyway.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So what do you do? Let's hear it.
Absolutely. So before we get into it, let me do a quick
wristwatch
check.
Yeah, my guess. Let's have it.
If it's okay with you. So something I'll be talking about. This is my Neo Vintage Omega Speedmaster Reverse Panda. It's the 3511.50 reference.
Nice.
Look, it's an underrated watch, and I say that because everybody's so hung up on the Speedmaster Professional. Because I went to the moon. I'm sorry, it went to the move.
It went to both.
It went to both. It went to both. All right. No, I went to the moon. Whatever, and people just get so caught up on that, right? All the marketing and the gimmicky stuff, or whatever.
That's the one they want, right? Like,
yeah, exactly. Oh my God, that's the one the astronaut wore. It's cool. I want one too.
Yeah,
but there's so much value to be had with something like this. Number one, it's an automatic movement, which a lot of people poo-poo on all the Omega people because like, no, you have to be manually wound and blah blah blah. It's the purest.
And if I'm not mistaken, the caliber, it's caliber 321 is what's in the Speedmaster Professional, right?
Not in all of them, obviously the older ones, but now the 321 got re-released with crazy prices like 15 grand or something like that. But
gosh, man.
I have a feeling that they might release some more, but supposedly according to Omega, the caliber 321, the new ones are kind of assembled by one person, so it's not a limited edition, but it is a limited production just because of the amount of time that it takes. But yeah, this is a value movement, and it's automatic. You can wind it and hacking and all that. But I guess what I was getting at is that there's so much value to be had with the automatic Speedmasters out there. So if anybody listening, watching this, go check them out. This is a neo vintage model, came out in the 90s. This was actually a Japan only model, which is JDM, and me being a car guy, I've always been into Japanese vehicles, so this really spoke to me on a different level because I'm like, hey, this is super cool. I've always liked the look of the Speedy Tuesday, which is a panda dial. Well, this kind of mimics that as a reverse panda, and I was like, well, this is a lot less expensive than that. It's in the $1,500 range or something when I picked it up. But yeah, don't be scared to be different. Don't follow trends, because that's when you fall into the trap. And if you follow those trends, you're gonna pay a premium. So buy what you like, even if it's not popular, because at the end of the day, it's your money. Right. So this is what I like, and this is from the 90s. Nice. And yeah, I'll explain the process, but I'm interested to see what you're wearing, man.
Okay. All right. So, and that's really cool. And I honestly, hearing that, and I've heard this, you know, you've kind of explained this before with other people, and it's like, I think that's the route I would go. Like, I like the
Yeah.
speedy professional, but
Hmm.
I think I would probably go for something a little different just because it
Sure.
is not on everyone's wrist. And I kind of
Exactly.
like
Yeah.
that, you know, just, and you'll see that in my collection. I own a lot of things that probably other people aren't, maybe they're not as popular, but they're
Yeah.
great watches, right?
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely, man.
and kind of tying into this topic too, I'm wearing my Seiko. So
Nice.
this is the Presage, the Fuyugeshiki, saying that right, because Dave from Just the Watch,
He corrected you.
well, yeah, he was like, "You're saying that wrong," but he was like, "You know what? Just say it however you want." So, all right.
You're like
I was saying,
fuhuhukihishi.
yeah, I was saying Fuyugeshiki, but you know this thing, and I just got this back from Brandon
Got the
at Case and
sapphire on
Dial.
there.
We upgraded the sapphire crystal instead of
Nice.
hardlex, and it looks freaking amazing, man. So I'm gonna definitely be doing a video soon showing, yeah, the process.
Was that expensive? I mean, if you don't mind me asking, super
So
expensive?
this is what's funny is kind of a silver lining is, and this is why I wanted to get into buying used, right?
Okay.
Because when I purchased this Seiko on
Mm-hmm.
eBay, it was at a steal because the hardlex
Mm-hmm.
crystal had a scratch in it. And
Oh, okay.
so because it was scratched or damaged, not as many people were interested. So I picked
Got
it
it.
up at a really low price. And then I
Makes
went
sense.
to Mark at Long Island Watch, and
Oh, okay.
he has the specific box crystal for the Presage
Oh,
series.
nice.
So you can't really get them anywhere else that I could find. And so it was $100, which was kind of
Okay.
hard to drop
Yeah.
100, but I had saved so much on this watch. I was like, let's do it. And
Okay.
sent it over to Brandon, and yeah, he swapped them out for me. And it's kind of making me think, like, would I have swapped to sapphire if I had paid full price for this?
No,
Or
probably not.
probably not, right?
Probably
So
not.
yeah,
Yeah.
so it worked out.
No, I'm with you, man. Well, speaking of, taking risks, taking chances on things, I actually bought my so quick story, and I've
Yeah.
said this story before. So in order to buy this watch that I'm wearing, the Omega Speedmaster, I
Mhm.
had to save and sell a few watches. And one of the watches that I sold, and I've had this watch for a little over 2 years. Before the podcast, I bought this. Um, so in order to buy this, I had to sell my Seiko'S 033, and I love that thing, right? But I
Oh
was
man.
like, oh, it's fine. I'll get one in the collection in the future. So dummy me, I sold it, and it was in really good condition. It had a few scratches, but I sold it, and immediately I regretted it. The minute that it
Mm.
sold, and I was almost crying on my way to the post office.
You
I was like,
felt
oh
it.
man, oh yeah, I knew I was making a mistake.
Yeah.
So I got this, and I immediately started saving up again and found one. And I found one for basically what I sold my first one for, but this one had a lot of scratches in it, and it was worn. Now I put more scratches in it, but I was like, I don't care. I know they're discontinued. They're going to keep going up. It's just going to get crazy, and it's going to be really hard to find.
Right.
And I pulled the trigger, bought it, and sure enough, now prices are crazy, and I wouldn't be able to afford one now.
Yeah. Dang, man.
They're crazy. So with that said, it's just like lesson learned. It's like if
Yeah.
you really, really love something, even if you're trying to fund something else, just wait a little bit and save, because once you get rid of a watch, you can never get it back in some cases. And even if you do get it back, you get it back in not the same condition as your first one.
I believe it, man. And it hurts to see like watches that you had or that you really maybe you still own, and you see another version of it and it's just beat to hell, and you're like,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that's the one you
Yep.
would be getting if you hadn't kept yours, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. But the process of buying, so there's several processes, right?
Okay.
So let's focus on vintage, right? Because
Okay.
that's kind of, I've owned a few, and vintage is very scary. So you need to really know what you're getting into, unless you're gonna buy it at a low price, and you're like, well, I don't care if it's a Franken watch.
All right.
It's okay, whatever, I can live with that. But if
So
you're
so
spending,
describe what is a Frankenwatch to those who may not
yeah,
know.
absolutely. So Frankenwatch is something that has different parts in it, right? So just like Frankenstein. So it could be, and not necessarily like a replica. And I guess let me go into that. So a replica watch obviously is something that's made to look like something else with
Right.
fake parts, not from the real manufacturer. But a Frankenwatch could be made that way too, right? So the dial could be an authentic, let's say Omega, right? It could be a real Omega, but the hands and maybe the case back are reproduction models. So I mean, I guess they're not authentic.
Right.
But also there is Franken watches where they use the authentic
Parts.
part, so it could be
Yeah.
Omega, but it's
Right.
not to the model. It's not how it came, right?
I
So
see.
if you don't know, it's like, oh well, what model is that? Oh, this is a 3511. Well, they know the 3511
Yeah.
didn't come with those hands, or
Yeah.
that is the wrong date window, or that is the wrong crystal for it, or whatever, you know. So in order for you to know what you're buying, you need to do your research. And there, luckily, there's a lot of pictures out there and videos and Instagram and whatnot where you can look up a reference number. Not all the time, but there is plenty of information out there where you look something up and you're like, okay, let me compare the picture of what I'm buying to one that I know it's real.
Yeah.
And you just start looking at all the little details, like, is that right? Is that the correct thing? Is that from the correct period? And it's a lot of work, and I've done it sometimes, but like with my Gerard Perigo, I have a vintage one. For the price that I picked it up, I couldn't find anything online, but I'm like, look, it looks good enough, and that even if I buy it at this price, it's all good. And they had a picture of the movement, so it did say
Okay.
Gerard Perigo. I was like, it's all good, you know.
Yeah.
And then after I got it, I had a vintage friend of mine, expert, look at the dial. He's like, oh, that's a reworked dial. That
Mm.
looks like they took it out and they probably cleaned it up. I'm okay with that. I'm like,
Yeah.
for the price that
It
I bought
looks
it for,
good. Yeah.
I don't really care, you
And
know.
you're not, and then I think that's part of it too. Like you're not buying to flip or sell, like,
Yeah,
so
correct.
if you take a small hit on, oh, it's not all, you got a Franken watch or whatever, but
Yeah,
if you like it and you wear it, like in the end, who cares,
absolutely.
right?
Yeah, absolutely. So Franken watch is one thing, also the refinishing too, because that's pretty important, you know. Like this watch was polished, but it still kept its lines and is beveling and everything that I was
Okay.
comfortable enough to say, okay, I will pull the trigger on this one. This one actually came from Japan, from a Japanese seller. And it was kind of hard to communicate, but I'll go into that right now. So
Okay.
I bought this on eBay, believe it or not. So spending this kind of money on eBay was my first time spending that kind of money.
That's
And
scary, man.
it was scary. It was pretty scary. I'm not going to lie, but I know I had PayPal protection.
Right.
So long story short, after I did my research, like, okay, cool, this looks legit. I asked a bunch of questions. You need to go into the seller. I'm talking for eBay specifically.
Sure.
Go into the seller, see their feedback, do your research on them. Ask them a few questions. I always ask questions, just random questions. Is it still available? Is this the best price? Is everything on the description correct? Is it
Mhm.
working 100%? See how responsive they are, because if they're not, then I can tell you, if you have issues once you get it, good luck getting your money back.
Yeah.
It's going to be a struggle. But if they're responsive, if they're good, then it's a good indicator that they know what they're doing. Also, you need to go and see their sell history. Number one,
Right.
what have they sold and what do they sell? Because if they sell a lot of watches, then you know that they kind of know what they're doing. But if it's like a random thing here and there,
Mm.
and the price justifies that, like they're undervaluing this watch, I wonder why. But you see they're not watch people, then maybe that's why, you know what I mean? But on the other opposite of the coin, it could be also that they don't really know what they're selling,
Right.
meaning not in a good thing. Maybe they're
Yeah.
answering questions without really knowing what you're asking. Like they're not watch people, you know?
They're just telling you what you want to hear so that you buy
Absolutely.
it,
Is it working?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think the battery's still working. I've had that before where it's an automatic watch and they're like, yeah, I think it's the battery. It's not moving, but I think it's just the battery. And I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna buy from them because they don't know what the hell they're
Right.
selling. You know what I mean?
Or they don't know if
Um,
the chronograph isn't working or if they, clueless.
Right, right, absolutely. So after you do your research, first of all, like I said, make sure that what you're buying is not a Franken watch as much as you
Okay.
can. Buy the seller. I know it's cliche, but it's true. 100%. Buy the seller. Ask a
Right.
ton of questions, and then if there's not enough good quality images on there, ask them. Just say, hey, can you send me a picture of the reference number of the case bag? Do you have
Mhm.
a picture of the movement? Can you get a picture with a different angle? Whatever it is, just ask as many questions just so you feel comfortable.
All right.
The reason I like eBay is because you do have that double protection from both eBay and PayPal.
Yeah.
The reason I don't like eBay is because negotiating prices is very hard because of the higher rates. I think it's 13% all in all combined eBay and PayPal. So
Yeah.
the seller only has so much
Wiggle
leverage.
room.
Now,
Yeah.
wiggle room. Now, what you can do is a little risky, but I've done it before. When I bought my first Omega Seamaster, a vintage one that I sold actually to fund this one, I bought it from a guy from Greece. He was on eBay, and then we went off of eBay, and we just bought it directly. I paid him through PayPal, but again, I had the buyer protection through PayPal. But now he saved himself like 9%, and he gave me that savings, so it was like 60, 70 bucks that I saved.
I see.
So I was willing to save that kind of money. But yeah, the watch was good because I asked a bunch of questions. He sent me some pictures, and I was like, well, you know what, I'm comfortable enough that we're just going through PayPal. So I'm still protected no matter what, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There is different ways of purchasing, and Instagram is one of them.
Okay.
I actually bought, and we'll talk, I'm sure more about this, but I bought my SPB 143
Oh yeah.
through Instagram. And I told you over the phone that this one was kind of scary because
Yeah.
I bought, so the guy's like, hey, we could do this however you want. You know, I sell watches. Look at my people that I sold this watch to, not this one, but other watches too. But Instagram, I mean, there is no feedback. There is no buyer protection. That you're basically is the wild, wild west out there,
Right.
you know?
Right.
But I had seen people post, tag him on things saying, hey, fantastic watch, came with box and papers, brand new, everything is good, legit, cool.
So a little bit of
Kudos to this guy.
reputation. Yeah.
Yeah, and also it helped that the guy is actually the guy that I bought it from. He's located here in Southern California as well.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay, I could literally drive to. I don't know where he lives, but we
It's
can
just
meet
like
up.
doing an offer up deal or
Offer up deal,
yeah.
right? Correct. So one thing that we did, he's like, okay, how do you want to do this? How do you want to buy it? I'm like, I want to do PayPal. He's like, okay, cool. Any fees that, you know, for whatever you're responsible for paying. I was like, okay, cool. Let me look into this. So I was gonna pay him, you know, with the 3% or whatever, but man, because of the price of this, it was gonna be it was a lot. It was like $70 or something.
Yeah.
Like, okay, do I want to pay an additional $70 for what I'm already spending,
Right.
or do I just want to do family and friends and kind of trust the guy, right? So that's what I did. I was like, okay, all right, I think I've spoken to this guy enough that I have faith, and let's do it. And I did family and friends and send them the money, and it was a great transaction. And I actually ran into a bit of an issue with this guy, but luckily, because I had done my due diligence with the seller and spoken to him enough and even got his cell phone number, I'll tell you what happened. And I haven't admitted this on camera because I just didn't want to put Seiko down, but I'll let it out of the bag.
Look at that brand loyalty there.
Whew, man, let me take a sip of water before I tell you. Cause,
drop a shot of vodka in there. No.
Man, that's what it's not water. So check it out. So I got this watch. I couldn't wait, right? And it came super quick because he's literally my neighbor, right?
Sure.
It took a day, 2 days, I think 2 days, and it was just like regular UPS. I get it. I was super excited. I unboxed it, you know, and then of course I noticed something on the hour hand. I was like, what the heck is it? Is that dirt? So I'm here cleaning it like crazy with microfiber towel, and I'm like, no, it's not on the outside. So I get my macro lens, right, and I put it. Man, the hour hand, the finishing on the hour hand was terrible. It had like little specks. Yeah, and I have pictures. I'll send them to you personally. But I was like, okay, I just spent over $1,000 on this watch, and the finishing on the hand is terrible. Everything else was great. Like I was super impressed. I wore it, the bezel action, everything aligned. I was like, okay, at least that's good.
Yeah.
But the finishing wasn't good. I was like, okay, what do I do? What do I do? Do I keep it? Because these things are hard to come by. And I didn't even know if the guy had another one because they're hard. No, but I literally contacted like real sellers, like eBay people. I contacted probably like 6 different sellers, and everybody was like, we're sold out. We can't get them. They're hard to get right now. They're hot. I was like, oh man, okay. But this guy had it. So I got some good pictures. I sent them to the guy. I said, hey, I hate to be that guy, but I am a YouTuber, and he didn't know this, right? When I contacted him, I was like, I'm a YouTuber, and I'm telling you this because I'm going to do a review of this, and I want to get some really good macro shots, and I cannot live with this. I cannot live with the price point that I just paid, knowing that this thing is not finished to that price point. And I know it's a Seiko, it's not a Rolex. I get it. But I'm still bothered by it. It's
a $1,000 Seiko, not a $100 Seiko.
Correct. So I'm still bothered by it. Immediately, the guy goes, absolutely no problem. I'll send you a shipping label. Send it back to me. I have another one here. Luckily, you know, that I haven't sold. I'll take a look at it, and if it's good, I'll contact you about doing an exchange. If not, I'll refund your money. Okay. I was like, okay, cool.
Nice.
Took a few hours. He got back to me, a few pictures. He's like, this one appears to be good. I don't have a macro lens, but this one appears to be pretty good. I'll send you the shipping label. I was like, okay, cool. Send me the shipping label immediately. I shipped it out. Sorry. As soon as I shipped it out, he shipped me the other one, and this is it. This is part number two.
Okay.
And yeah, man, not a single dime left in my pocket except for my gas and my time. But yeah, stand-up guy, and yeah, I'm super happy with it. Not happy with Seiko's quality, and I get
Right.
that. And I didn't say that in the review because I'm like, I don't want to bash him, and this one's actually really good.
Yeah.
And to be fair to Seiko, I'm just super picky. So the other one, the only way I was able to see something on this on the hour hand is like this. I was like
Getting it.
literally, I
Yeah.
was like this. I was like, wait a minute,
Yeah.
what is that? And I had
Yeah.
to take out my macro lens to see it. And I spoke to even P. Ross and some other friends, and I was like, what do I do? And they're like, some people were like, you're being way too picky. But some other people were like, no, I'll do the same thing.
Because
I
you're
would
gonna
not be
know
happy.
it's gonna bother you. You're
It's gonna
gonna.
bother the crap out
Yeah.
of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
So
true.
anyway, so Instagram, that's the way to do it. I mean, it's hit or miss, honestly. I would stick with eBay, to be honest with you.
Yeah, you get a little more protection. So have you ever bought a watch on eBay that arrived and you either had to return it or it was
Yep.
messed up? Yeah.
Yep. 100%. So before buying the Speedmaster, I was sold on the Reduce. It was the, I forget the reference number, but they call it the Speedmaster Reduce. It looks
Right.
exactly like the Speedmaster Professional,
It's just
but the
smaller.
dial, yeah,
Right.
smaller, and the dial does have a variation on the outer portion where it has the little numbers, like
The
the
tachymeter.
markings.
Yeah.
No, it's actually
Oh.
inside the
Oh, that's like the chapter ring or.
yeah, inside this one actually has it inside the, I don't know if you can see it, but inside the dial it has little numbers
Oh, I see what you're
like
saying.
on the
Right.
indices. So that's how the other one is. They do have a different version, the newer Speedmaster Reduce, that doesn't have that and really resembles a Speedmaster Professional, but I
Okay.
couldn't afford that one. It's a little more expensive. So again, eBay, do my research. So that watch was the same price as this, actually a little more expensive than this one.
Mhm.
And the guy here in LA, which I'm sorry,
Okay.
California,
Not
he's
too
in
far,
LA.
yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, cool. I'll get it from this guy. We were talking. He's like, it was recently serviced. It's running like a champ and this and that. I was super excited, right? I was like sold on my Speedmaster
Yeah.
Reduce. I was like, okay, cool. I got it. And first thing I noticed, the chronograph hand wasn't at the 12 o'clock. It was off a little bit. I'm like,
It's a red flag.
okay. The watch was losing 3 minutes a day. I'm like,
Oh shoot.
yeah, that's not good.
That's not spec.
So I contacted the guy, but again, he was super cool because I had already spoken to him. So I
Yeah.
contacted the guy. He wanted to give me like a fat discount, but I'm like, I just can't. I
Yeah.
just can't. I can't. I think it was gonna give me like $150 back or something, but I
You
was
gotta
like,
spend way more fixing
I just
it.
can't. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, right. And the problem with that module, with that movement as opposed to this one, this is a Valjoux movement. That one had a Dubry Dubois movement,
Mhm.
which it's kind of like not a sandwich. It's a stacked on movement, which
Yeah.
I've heard. And I've learned something different after I returned it. But I at that time I had heard that the only people that could service it for you was Omega, but they would almost do like an overhaul on your watch, was with $700-800. I was like, okay, I definitely can't afford that. I cannot afford that. So I sent it back. But looking back in retrospect, actually that was something good that happened, because I actually love this model more than that one, and I didn't even know this one existed until I returned the other one and I started doing more research. I was like, oh, wait a minute, there is different versions of this. So I'm happy that happened. But yeah, man, also another experience I had, and this ties back to doing your research. When I was looking for the Seiko Star 033, I had owned one, so I knew exactly what it looked like, front and back and center and everything. There was a seller in Japan selling one for a heck of a deal. It was like $100 to $200 below market, what everybody was selling it. And I was like, at first glance, it looked good, right? He didn't have a lot of good pictures.
Okay.
So I'm like, hey, send me more pictures. You know, he's in Japan. So he did. Immediately, I could tell it was fake. Immediately.
Wow.
He didn't know it. According to him, he didn't know it.
Yeah.
He's like,
which he may or may not have, like.
Yeah, but I knew immediately the minute that I saw the case back and some of the side views, I was like, that's fake. Immediately I knew it, because I know this watch.
Yeah.
And I told him, and he didn't believe me. He's like, what do you mean this is not fake? So I literally took my time and got a real one. Like every single one of his shots, I found a real one matching his, and told him, look at the side by side. And he's like, oh, you're right. He took down the listing immediately. So that's why I thought he was legit.
That sucks for him, man. Yeah.
It does. But now I did him a favor, you know,
Right.
because whatever. But yeah, it was a super clone or whatever they call it. But
Right.
I spotted it. I'm like,
Okay.
nah, that's not legit.
That's I would say that's probably the biggest takeaway too is like yeah,
Yeah.
comparing photos and good like my pet peeve when someone's selling a watch is blurry pictures, far away pictures, and I'm like, dude, I can't see this
Yeah.
thing. Like that
Yeah.
crystal could be all scuffed up or whatever, and the
Yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
you wouldn't even know it.
For sure. Well, one of the things also, just to take it a step further, and I don't think people want to do this, or maybe they do.
Uh,
I bought this watch from a store in Japan. It wasn't a seller, it was a store. So I looked, everything was in Japanese. I literally went to their website and went to Google Translate and started translating everything, looking at their establishment, how long they've
okay.
been in business. And I took it a step further. I got a phone number for them, and we had an international plan. So I called them, and I had my Google Translate the speaker, and I was speaking to it in English and translating into Japanese.
Hmm.
It was hard, but we were able to communicate that way, believe
I
it or
see.
not.
Cool.
So they didn't know much about the watch, but I just wanted to get the feel of who they were and if they were legit. And it was just that extra step that made me probably feel good.
Yeah,
But
but still,
if they're willing to give you the phone number and talk to you over the phone, that's honestly like one of the best things, because then you get to speak to the person, you know, have a little better feel, you know.
yeah.
So,
Well, I
and of
definitely.
course,
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say the best thing you can do, like when buying a watch, is if you can see it in person. That's
Yeah.
like the best. But with COVID and with people being in different parts of the world, it's a little hard, you know. But that would be honestly like the best thing I could recommend.
See it
Buy it
in
in person. Yeah,
for sure.
and
Feel it. And
especially yeah, and especially if you're buying like a high end watch. I know Rolex, if you meet at their store, they're able to, I think they charge, I don't know any Rolexes, but I've heard that they do charge, I think, some money, some people do, to actually look at the watch and authenticate the watch. And
oh,
I
okay.
think if it's okay with the seller, they even open it up and look at the movement and all that. So
Right.
that's what I would do if I was going to spend, $10,000 or whatever.
For
For
sure.
sure,
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
sure.
You're not. Yeah. You're not just gonna. Yeah.
No.
I've even heard of the things to watch out for on like Chrono 24 and other sites where you pretty much guarantee that it's a scam or the watch they're selling the watch that they don't actually have. And you got to be careful. So I've
Yeah.
heard that too, but I'm not at that level yet
Yeah.
to where I'm going to be spending that kind of money on online purchase. But
Yeah. Now, actually, now that you mention it, I think I lied to you. So my first Speedmaster, the reduce, I did buy it on eBay. I found this on eBay, but they were also on Chrono 24, and it was actually cheaper buying through Chrono 24, this one. And it was the same seller. That's what kind of threw me off. I do
okay.
sorry, it was over 2 years ago. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I bought it through Chrono 24, and that one actually really scared me, because they have this system where they take your money, and it kind of like they impound the money,
Yeah.
and they don't release it until they ship the item to you and you receive it or something like that, if
Yeah.
I
Kind
remember
of hold it in
correctly.
escrow.
In escrow, they hold
Yeah.
it in escrow, and it was a little. It was different. It was different because I had never done it, but it went well. I was
That's
like, okay, I'm happy.
It's actually good for both of y'all because if you think about it, it's parking the money so they know that it cleared your bank
Yeah,
or your credit card, whatever it is, and that the seller knows, all right, this money's legit. It's going to
yeah,
get to
yeah,
you,
yeah,
and then you're going to get your watch. So
for sure, for
it's
sure.
longer, but probably safer.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah,
for sure. No, it went well. I've been lucky, but obviously with my stories, I've been unlucky as well. But you just
yeah,
need to do your homework, and look, don't hold high expectations when you get things. And I'll give you an example. I bought a brand new watch from Joma Shop, my Seiko 5 SNKL 41
okay,
J1. That's a JDM version. Haven't done a review on it because
okay,
I'm so backlogged, but it's a white dial version. It's a Seiko 5 with the 7S26 movement. I got lucky. I got the it was a Japanese model,
hmm
so it had the English and the Arabic,
oh
and
wow,
I loved it. I was
yeah,
gonna keep
between
it
yeah on the day date,
on the day date, right? And I
yeah.
was gonna, my wife was actually in love with that watch. She was like, "Oh my god, out of all your watches, it's the one I like the most." I'm like, excuse me,
Hello, yeah,
excuse me," and she's like, "I don't care
whatever,
about those.
yeah,
Those look kind of ugly. Those are
yeah.
like very manly looking. I don't like them. I like this $100
Hey
Seiko." I'm
man,
like,
she likes what she
it's not about
likes.
price. It's not
Yeah.
about price, but no. So check it out. Every single time I get a watch, look at it, make sure everything is working, and also how it performs, if it's keeping time, if it's keeping the power reserve. And that was a brand new watch, so I'm like, you're like, Miguel, why would you even
No,
look
man,
out
I
for those
totally,
things?
yeah.
Yeah, so I was looking at the power reserve. It was keeping a whopping 10 hours of power reserve.
That's not good.
That's it. I'm like, this is supposed to have 40 hours. So I'm like, no, let me test it again. Let me test it again. Let me wear it the whole day. I wore it. I just shook my hand. I had my wife wear it.
Hmm.
10 hours. So luckily enough, I bought it through Joma Shop. Good place. I recommend them. Bought a few
Right,
things from them.
right.
And yeah, man, sure enough, they gave me my money back and everything. And I haven't bought another one since. I might pick one up. They're out of stock. I was like, great, of course they're out of stock. You know,
Hmm.
I had just gotten a really cool model with the Arabic numbers, and now I can get it. Great. I could get it on eBay for like $50 more, which I'm not
Yeah,
willing to spend $150 on that one, because
yeah.
I had bought it for $110 from Joma Shop. But something to look out for too. Even when
Okay.
you get a brand new watch,
Test it out.
test it out.
Make sure.
Definitely
Yeah,
test it out. Make
I
sure. Yeah,
agree.
for sure.
So I was gonna say, because that's all really good advice too with your experiences, and I like
Yeah.
for me. So I've bought on eBay. I've bought on Mercari is another website. I think I've even bought on Poshmark. So I've ordered quite
Oh
a bit
wow, really?
online. Yeah, OfferUp. I've done local deals, and like you said, that's best because
That's the
you can
best. Yeah.
hold it, you can see it. Hey, does it
Mm-hmm.
work?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's just I feel like it's the go-to, but it's also limited
Yeah.
in what's going to be on there. But yeah,
Yeah.
man, I like to do is park a little bit of a budget. So I'll set some money aside and I'll have like, let's just say like $300-400, right?
Yeah.
And I'll just be browsing and I'll kind of think of like watch brands or watches that I've had my eye on. I'll go through my little list and I'll do a search on uh, on eBay and I'll look and see what's out there. And if I see something that I'm interested in, I have enough, let's say parked, I'll pull the trigger immediately or I'll send an offer. And I try to not lowball, but obviously get the price down because
Yeah.
sometimes it's a little inflated
Always.
because they want some wiggle room. But I don't want to insult the seller either and just get ignored and like not have the opportunity to buy it.
Yeah.
So I try and be reasonable, but man, sometimes I come across these like amazing deals that I'm like, is it legit? Is it too
Is
good
it
to be
real?
true? The photos are kind of but another thing I like to do is look past the imperfections on a watch in the
Mm-hmm.
photos because a lot of times it's something as simple as it's dirty. And I'll give you an example. So no one knows about
Right.
this watch yet. I haven't posted
Ooh,
it yet.
world exclusive.
So this is a rotary,
Oh,
um,
okay.
but
Cool.
it's oh wow, it's messing up with
Oh
my
no,
thing.
wow.
Yeah, but anyway, it's a as you can see a Cartier homage.
Mm-hmm.
It's a rotary that has an ETA 2800, so it's
Wow.
mechanical, hand wind,
Okay.
limited edition, Swiss made, so it's all Swiss and has that guilloche pattern, date, complication, running second hand. So it's like
Looks
just a
nice,
nice
man.
watch, and I hope because if I ever sell it and someone sees it, it's gonna be like this guy. But I paid like just over $100 for it, and I'm like,
No way. Yeah,
how many times can you find
that's crazy.
a Swiss watch mechanic wound, hand wound for $100? And so the pictures, it was all kind of like it looked like it was rough. And when I got it, I got my polishing cloths and I just worked on it. And it's gold plated, so I wasn't
It's
worried
gold
about
plated.
pulling any of it off. But I was kind of a little hard on it. And dude, it looks like I could easily flip it for probably 3 times. But
Nice.
I won't.
Yeah,
Like I want to keep it and wear it and enjoy it. So
yeah, and people do that. I mean, if you're, I guess, if you're watching this on trying to learn how to flip watches, this is not the
it's not the
episode
right
for
one.
you.
Yeah.
This is more for you keeping the watch and
Yeah.
possibly flipping it, like Dave's watch. But yeah, man, there's incredible deals to be had out there. A lot of people sleep on different brands, and
Yeah.
like I said, don't go for the hype. It's funny when I first got into collecting. I had heard of Universal Geneve, the pull
Mm-hmm.
routers and things like that, and they were already starting to creep up in price, but they
Mm-hmm.
were not what they are now, just
Dude, they're like
because
$1,000 or
they're over a
more. Like,
thousand bucks. Yeah, when I
yeah.
was looking at them, they were in the 400s, and
Wow.
I'm like, I should have just bought one back in the day, but I didn't know
Yeah, if
enough.
you had
I
known,
was
right?
I was just getting into watches. I didn't really know much, but yeah, don't go for the hype. I mean, unless you have the money and you really want something. But look at a lot of different brands. People sleep on a lot of different brands that are
There's a
Swiss
lot.
made probably went under, even some
Mhm.
American made. I know Elgin made some amazing
Mhm.
things. Longines, they're starting to come up. I know they're doing a lot of marketing, but you could find vintage Longines all day for not a lot of money, and
Right.
you get a lot of heritage, and you get great movements and everything, So
Yeah. Yeah, totally. I think that's probably one of the cool things is if you want the newest stuff, you're pretty much always going to pay new pricing. But if
yeah,
you're willing to
yeah,
go for models or brands that are a little bit older, or maybe no longer make that model, you can sometimes snag them for
sure.
a good price. So
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I know Grand Seiko, because they've been doing so much marketing. They've the vintage stuff has become like really expensive.
yeah.
I slept on that. King Seiko, Grand Seiko, Lord Matic, stuff
Hmm.
like that. Now they're increasing a little bit in price, but back in the day, man, I mean, you
You
could
can
pick them
pick
up
them up.
really inexpensive. People were
Yeah.
literally giving them away because nobody really knew what
There's
the
no
heck they were.
demand. Yeah.
There was no demand, but now,
Oh,
because of Grand Seiko and everything, I mean, a vintage Grand Seiko is going for almost $1,000, and you're like,
yeah.
whoa, okay.
Yeah. And that's a vintage one. Like the new ones
Yeah,
even are up there
yeah,
too. So
yeah, for sure. And I know our friend Eve from Alias Steve Dan channel. She
hmm.
has a King Seiko,
Yeah.
and we talk because she knows that I really wanted to pick one up. And now Seiko released a limited edition King Seiko, beautiful watch for like over $4,000. And of course, now the vintage stuff
Goes
is
up.
peaking up. So it's
Yeah.
like, oh man.
You see that happen every time they did it. And just to kind of sidetrack, like they did the same thing with the you could pick up an accurate NSX back in the day for like 20, 30 grand, right? An older
Yeah.
one. And then when they were coming out with the new NSX,
The
and
electrical, the hybrid one.
yeah, it's like, but it once the prototype and they were coming out, yeah, we're gonna release it, we're gonna make it. All the prices on the older NSX
Hmm.
just went through the roof. I'm like 70
Right.
grand, like that thing you could get for like 30 or 40 back. So
Yeah, I
um,
remember when you could pick them up when I had my this is back. Oh man, now I'm dating myself. Okay, well whatever. Now I was in
yeah,
my
it's fine.
20s. I had my S2000. Well, one of my S2000s, Honda S2000, but I really wanted an NSX, and I was looking into them.
Dude,
They were, oh man, this is like, 10, like 12, 13 years ago.
okay,
You could pick them up for like high miles for like 15, 16.
yeah.
And I just didn't have the money. I was younger, and I was
The
like,
maintenance too. I mean,
yeah, correct. But I wish I would have picked one up, because that's one of the cars that is just gonna keep going up in value, man. You
yeah,
know what I mean? But
yeah, dude. It's funny
it's
how it works with stuff like that. How other newer things can cause the old stuff to creep up in
yeah. But you
demand.
never know though. I mean, unless you do your research, or you're really like in the know, if you will, and you're like, oh, I know that, let's say Seiko is gonna come out with this, and maybe a year there's talk. So I'm gonna jump on this before prices get crazy. Then
Beat the
that's when
curve.
you
Yeah,
you beat the curve. But
yeah.
if you're like most of us, that, I mean, you know a little bit about everything, and then you just hear about it in the news like everybody else, and maybe it's too late. So
Hmm. Yeah, for sure. Dang man. Okay, so I appreciate all the expertise and your personal experience too, man.
yeah,
And I know it's
expertise.
gonna
Ain't no
help. No, no.
expertise on this
Well,
end.
I know it's gonna help people because that's something that I've never really talked about on my own channel. So this was a
Yeah,
great way for
for sure.
letting people know what you do, what I do.
Yeah,
And I was gonna ask like, okay, so before we get into the next topic, I definitely
sure.
want to hear about your SPB because I know that was like a grail, we say affordable grail, but really grail period, like watch that you're able to get.
Sure.
So just tell me a little bit more about it. I know you gave me the story of how it came to be
Yeah.
and getting it,
Yeah.
but what so far, what's your, still in your honeymoon phase or?
Yeah, it's so funny. The weirdest thing is, I've been, and let's just call it what it is. I've been addicted to watches for 6, 7 years, right?
A
But
long
as
time.
of late, it was getting really bad, man. It was getting to the point where I had to have a new watch every month, almost every other week.
Yeah.
But my budget and everything just doesn't allow for it. My channel just started making money. I haven't even got my first paycheck from Google,
Yeah.
and my podcast
Congrats,
is
by
not
the way,
making.
man. You're
Oh,
getting
thank
that
you.
YouTube money.
Took a while. Took a while, but I
Yeah.
haven't even gotten my first $100, so it's
Yeah.
it's taken a long time.
You
But
get there.
podcast hasn't made a single penny. So it's all coming out of pocket, right? So flipping watches and saving money and doing this and doing that, but it's long and hard, right? So to
Right.
buy watch this expensive. I call it like you said, affordable grail, but in reality, it is a grail
It
because
is.
$100 is not affordable to some people, right? 50
Right.
bucks is too much money for watches. So to
Right.
pay this kind of money for a Seiko is crazy. It's crazy money. But I am a Seiko fanboy. I don't know if you guys could tell, but I am a Seiko fanboy and have been for a long time. So I always wanted a 62 MAS, and of course I can't afford them because they are really expensive, and they're even becoming more expensive. So for those of you who don't know what the hell 62 MAS is Seiko's first dive watch. They introduced it back in the oh man, I just did the review on this in the 60s, 50s. Some
Somewhere on
go
there.
on
Yeah.
my review and check it out.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I did my research. But anyway, um when they came out with this in June of this year of 2020, I saw it and I immediately said, that is a watch I would like to own. It's super cool, but I can't afford it. I just can't, you know? So whatever, I just kind of didn't give it any thought. Hodinkee came out with their video and I was super in love with it because I'm like,
Yeah,
man, that is the perfect size. Like it's a 40 millimeter watch.
Yeah.
It's
Looks good.
looks
Like,
good, has a great movement in it, 6R35, 70-hour power reserve. I mean,
it's great. Yeah.
anti-magnetic, and I mean it's next level Seiko, and you could tell. I mean, is it expensive? Yeah, I agree with some people that it's maybe a little overpriced, but for what it is, whatever. So I was like, all right, I'm getting more in love with this thing. I know I liked it, but now I need to have it in the collection. How can I do it? So I started flipping some things, sold 2 watches, sold some other things, random things on eBay, and started saving. And I had the money, so it was scary. I was like, do I really want to do this? Do I really want to spend that kind of money on a Seiko? Because now I'm in the territory where I could purchase an Oris, or I could purchase like a
You can
vintage.
go next, into a next level.
Right.
Yeah.
But I was like, okay, so this is my thought process. This is what made me pull the trigger on this. I said, okay, I love this watch, the Omega. Do you know how many times a month I wear this watch?
It better be a lot. No, you don't.
I wear it maybe once every month and a half. And here's why.
Okay.
I baby the crap out of this because I know the water resistance is not there. It's a vintage model. And ever since I bought it, guess what? It went up in value about close to $1,000. So now I'm like, okay, I really don't want to wear this thing. So
okay.
I can't even enjoy it.
So if it wasn't for those, would you wear it more?
Maybe. Okay. Because I'm really picky about the water resistance and I'm scared to bang things up.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, so I need to make the right decision here. I love the watch. Why wouldn't I buy it? I'm like, I really want a Rolex Submariner, but I can never. I mean, I'm sure I could afford it at one point, but I'm like, do I really want to spend that kind of money? And especially with the prices now, it's just crazy, right? So I'm like, to me, this is the Rolex Submariner replacement. And I know people are gonna crucify me and be like, how dare you compare a Seiko to a Rolex? But to me,
but in your eyes, and it's something you're gonna wear. Think about it. If you had the Submariner,
exactly.
Okay, if you're already like this with your Speedmaster, like, or with your Omega, like you would do the same with your Rolex, maybe even more so.
Yep. So that was the main point that I was like, am I going to enjoy this watch? Am I going to wear this watch? Versus spending that kind of money on something vintage is like, yeah, it's a flex, right? You could put it on Instagram or whatever, but I don't enjoy it because it's just put away. Like, I was like, no, I think it's time I buy something that I'm going to wear, enjoy, and it's going to have crazy water resistance and I'm not going to be scared and it's going to be brand new. And that's why I pulled the trigger. I was like, you know what? Let's do it.
Yeah.
And honestly, ever since I bought it, it's been over a month, I think. Yeah, over a month.
There,
I haven't been wanting to buy a new watch. And I know it's only been a month, but honestly, the urge of getting a new watch is not even there anymore, which is kind of scary because I'm like, well, I mean, it's scary, but it's good because I'm like, oh, good.
It's like different. Like
it's a different feeling for sure, And I know my bank account and my wife are happy about that, and hopefully it stays that way because my goal now is I'm getting so many watches in for review on loans. Of course, they're not mine, but I get to experience them. I get to play with them. So it kind of like satisfies that urge of getting something new. I was
just going to say that, yeah.
I get to play with something that's not mine, but I get to wear it. And to be honest with you, and if anybody out there listening that let me borrow a watch, Formix or, all these second hour watch and whatever, I rarely wear the watches. It's funny. I get them. I wear them around the house a little bit, but because I'm so scared to like break them and they're
Yeah,
not
it's
mine,
not
they just don't
yours.
feel mine.
Yeah.
I don't wear the watch. I
Yeah.
have a few times, but I am very careful with them. I just don't wear them. You know, I just kind of keep them safe, and I look at them and I admire them, and I'm like, oh, okay,
Sure.
this is cool, but
Yeah.
you know,
I feel you. I do the same
yeah,
with some on loan, and I'm more careful with other people's stuff. Like I have a watch right
yeah,
now that Chase over at All Things Random channel, he sent me a Tissell Explorer, and I'm working on a video, and so I wanted to try
okay,
one out because I missed out twice on eBay of buying a Tissell Explorer, and so I'm
okay,
like, I'll hold out. Like I'm not in a rush. It's fine. I can wait. I have patience. But um, one thing you were saying was, and it kind of it leads perfectly into this next thing, was about how
mhm,
before you were saying like every month I gotta have, it's beyond addiction. It's like I gotta have
yeah,
another watch. I gotta have another watch. Like,
yeah.
so that was going to take me into the next topic, which is this: what do you think about buying too fast or obtaining too quickly to where it's almost like you can't even enjoy them? Like,
Yeah,
have you experienced that? Because that's kind of where I'm like
yeah,
I'm hitting that level, and it
yeah,
sucks.
yeah, man. No, so 2 points there. Number one, buying too fast because you're new into the hobby and you're just so enamored by watches, but you don't necessarily know what your style is,
All right.
right? I can tell you that for me, a dress watch is just not going to do it
Mm,
because if I wear this watch every month, my Gerard Perigo, I wear it maybe now that I've had it for over a year, I've worn it a total of like maybe 3 times. And
okay.
it's just like real quick because it
Yeah.
just doesn't, dress watches just don't
It's
really
not
do
your
it for
thing.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah. But at first, when I first got into watches, I was like, I'm into everything,
Yeah.
chronographs
That
and,
looks
you know,
good. That looks
whatever.
good. That looks good.
Everything looks good. Everything looks amazing.
Right.
So slow down, buy a watch that you really like and enjoy it, right? I know it's hard and I'm being hypocritical because I bought a watch when I wasn't even done honeymooning with one or whatever. But yeah, man, it's one of those things where like slow down because I can assure you if you buy too much too quick in the beginning of your watch collecting journey, you're gonna end up regretting it and you're gonna be like, okay, I have about maybe 500-600 of more dollars just sitting here that
Yeah.
I don't wear these watches. And now if I want to flip them, unfortunately, a lot of them are going to devaluate and now you
Yeah.
lost that money. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So
Yep.
I would say slow down if you have friends. I know it's kind of hard right now with the virus and everything, but if you can meet with friends, go check out their watches,
Mhm.
you know, put it on wrist, see how it fits. Cause I can assure you that things on camera or on the screen are way different than how they look in the metal, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I would recommend that. And and then point number two, as far as buying too fast and honeymooning, yeah, man, it's happened to me as well, where you don't get to really enjoy the watch because you get another watch and then you're the one you have on your wrist down, and then you wear another one, and it just,
Mhm.
you know, so that's an individual basis type thing. But what I would recommend is maybe limit yourself to say, okay, I'm going to buy a watch every 3 months or every whatever. Like that's my rule to myself, just because I really, really, really want to enjoy this watch, you know.
Yeah.
But it's hard. It's hard. It's
It
almost
is,
like
man.
losing weight, you know.
Yeah, dude. That's
I
yeah. Oh, that's my next goal for 21. Like, shoot, man. Well,
so
and
hard.
and that's where I think my problem, and my wife, she sees it too, because it's like, even though I set a budget aside for watches or for, let's say, camera equipment, as we were talking earlier off camera or whatever, like I have a set amount that I can play with, and I will see a deal and I recognize it and I jump on it, and it's almost like I like the watch. I might even love the watch, but I'll buy it even though I know I'm not going to be able to really enjoy it as much right now, because yeah, I have all these other watches I'm having fun with, but it was such a good deal. I wasn't willing to like let it go.
Yeah.
And then it's like it might end up being a good decision, or like you were saying, money tied up that I could have just kept and like forego. Like this one was a really good deal, but and we'll see here in the next couple months, like, do I love it, do I wear it, and if not, am I going to sell it, am I going to keep it? Like, so
Yeah.
that's where I went through a phase recently where I just bought like bam bam bam, and they were like big ticket, like $300-$400 watches, like one
That's
after
crazy.
another, and I'm like, but they're such cool watches and I love them, but it's like, if I could just slow down for a little bit and just, I need to like not look at secondary markets And my goal, and
Yeah.
that's what I'm going to do for 2021. My goal is to buy one, if not two, luxury four-figure watches for like my collection,
Nice.
you know. And I know it's going to slow some
Nice.
stuff down on the channel, but like I
It's
really
fine.
want to experience like the next level and
Yeah.
go there.
Well, I'll be honest with you. So and I don't know how to explain this. It's kind of hard. I guess it's something that each person needs to experience by themselves. But just like I was saying, when I got this Seiko, it kind of it put me in a position where I don't really want anything new.
Right.
But I thought that's the way it was going to be with every watch that I pick up. You always think that, right? Like,
Right.
oh, this is it. This
This
is
is
going to
it.
be
I'm
it.
good. Scratch
Nothing
the
else.
itch.
Right. But immediately when you get it, you're like, yeah, this is cool.
Now I
But you're
have
looking
it.
at something else. So now you know that that watch really wasn't it. That wasn't the one that was going to do it. So for me, it's this one. And it's funny because I haven't had this experience with any other watch really. Even
Really?
with the Speedmaster, I got it, and before actually the Speedmaster was sad, I hadn't even gotten in the mail and I was already looking for something else. I don't know if that ever happens to you, but
Yeah,
that's the
man.
sad part. You
It's
haven't
like,
even gotten the watch and you're looking for something
yeah,
else, you
I
know.
bought it. It's coming. What's new? What else? What's
Exactly.
yeah?
So it honestly, I
It's a
guess it all
problem, man.
depends.
We sound like, I don't know. It's like any other addiction, right? Like you
It is
just
an
you're
addiction,
looking
yeah.
for the next thing already, and you haven't even gotten the first one.
It is an addiction, to be honest with you, man. And it's I know it sounds like all fun and games and jokes and stuff like that, but it's not, because I know some people spend thousands of dollars on watches. Not
Yeah.
me, not you, but there's people that buy 3,000, 4,000, $5,000 watches
Right.
and really put their finances in jeopardy and
That's
put
not
things
good.
on credit card and stuff like that. I'm not kidding. Like
Yeah, that's sad.
it's a real thing, man. It's a real thing.
Yeah.
And furthermore, and this has happened to me, and openly I'll admit it, I've gotten into arguments with my wife because of spending too much money on watches too fast. And it's like, to me, it's like, well, it's only $300, but put things into perspective, right? Me, when I buy clothes or when I buy something else, I'm a cheapo. I'm like, oh my God, $50 for that? That's a
Right.
lot of money. But then my wife goes, but you don't have a problem spending that much money on a watch? Well, it's different.
Mm.
It's like, it's different to me because that's what I'm into. But
Yeah.
when regular people see you spending $300 on a watch, $200 on a watch, that's a lot of money. So now if you tell somebody, hey, every month I'm spending 3, 4, 200, 100 on watches, so at the end of the year I'm spending over 1,000 on watches, they're gonna be like,
You're
you're
crazy.
crazy.
Yeah, dude.
You're crazy.
Or
Why are you
or
doing
that,
that?
and other people would say, oh, you should just save all that and buy $1,000 watch, right? Which I get. I've had that too. So many people have told me to
Yeah.
sell my collection off and buy one watch, but it comes down to that same thing. Why? I know I'm gonna want something else. Like I'd rather enjoy a watch.
Unless this happens to you, man, you
Unless you
never
get the
know. I
one.
mean,
Yeah.
unless you get the one, but you're never gonna know until you get it. You know what I mean? So
I think like it's I think as long as your family's fed, your bills are paid, you're not using debt, like have fun, right? Because everyone has their thing. Some people it's sneakers. Like look at Omar, like his sneaker collection is amazing, right? Like, and he's getting
Omar.
into watches, and so shout out to Omar.
Omar's been trying to get me into sneakers, and I'm like, look, man, I already have a problem with my
Yeah,
wife with buying too many watches. Now you really want me to get divorced, don't you?
right.
Like,
Let's
you
keep
want
it
me
at
to
one
keep it at one addiction, all
one
right?
genre, yeah.
No, the
And
guy really has issues, and he's a good friend of mine. He lives local, like he lives like literally half an hour away from me. And going back to another affordable grail, and I don't have it in front of me, but it's the Seiko 5. It's from the 70s. It's a Seiko 5 Actis with a salmon dial. I had been looking for that thing for a while, and he had one, and I didn't know
I
this
saw
when we
that
kind
on
of became
his,
friends.
yeah.
So he had it. He's like, oh, for sale. I hit him up immediately. I'm like, hey, buddy, I'm really interested in that. Let's make a deal. So we did, and I literally picked it up in person, and that's when I first met him in person, and it was awesome. We
Cool.
sat there, and I brought a bunch of my watches. He had a bunch of his, and we became even better friends because of the experience, you know?
Yeah,
So,
man. It's awesome,
anyways,
dude. Yeah. That's definitely like one of those things that you just I don't know, like I haven't gotten into arguments with my wife, but I've definitely like I've gotten to the point where I'll be like, hey, my budget, like I know I'm gonna get this much, for my watch budget, but this deal is now like I'm
Can
gonna
I borrow
float,
some money?
like I'm gonna float a little bit out of this
I
account
do
and
that all the
cover,
time.
yeah, and it's ridiculous, right? Like she just rolls her eyes, but It's well, the good thing I've experienced, and this is just me, is the watches I've bought new that are like, let's say, homage brands that you can just buy any day, all day, every day, right? They're in stock, they're available.
Yeah.
Those are watches I've actually kept. I don't really have a need or feel the desire to sell them right now. But the
Okay.
ones that I've bought, and let's say eBay or other sites used, and I've gotten really good deals on, almost like an impulse. Like I saw it for a good deal, and so I picked it up. But I don't end up really loving it or wearing it much. So I can turn around and flip it and almost always make my money back, if not make more, which is
Yeah.
really cool because
That's cool.
at least it's not getting out of hand where I'm losing money every time I sell a watch. So I think it just depends.
No, that's cool, man. That's cool, man. And speaking of addiction, and I completely forgot about this. So P. Ross, man, my co-host
Right.
on my podcast, he has an issue. P. Ross, if you're watching, you have an issue, buddy.
P. Ross, it's an intervention. No,
It's an intervention. It's an intervention. The guy, I kid you not, man. Sometimes he'll buy 2 watches a week, but
Nice.
weekly he's buying watches, and he buys vintage stuff. He loves vintage stuff. So Bulova, Timex, whatever.
He's got some Elgins and some other stuff.
Oh, he has. It's crazy. I asked him the other day. I'm like, how many watches do you have in your collection? Because I don't even know. He's like, oh man, over 150. Like he has it's crazy. Like he has a lot.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. We shared this experience in one of our latest podcasts about our affordable grill watches, and one of them was the Certina DS Podium from. So I had been looking at that watch and I liked it. I just didn't pull the trigger because I knew I was saving up for something more expensive, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I really like that watch, right? What you get is incredible value for less than $300, brand new on Joma Shop, at a Movement, Sapphire. It's a great, Swiss made, great reputation.
Right.
So I knew about it for a few months. I just never really told anybody. I was just like, I knew about it, whatever. And I was like,
good value.
Good value, whatever. So I was talking to P. Ross, this is November, October, something like that. And we're talking and he's, oh man, I'm really looking at this watch. And I'm like, another one, P. Ross, man, you just literally bought one. Like you bought, like,
you just bought 4.
I feel like he doesn't have honeymoon faces. Like he's one of those guys that
he's a collector.
Buys one. And he's just an impulsive guy. I'm sorry,
grabbing
I'm
him
trying
up.
to insult you, P. Ross. So he's just grabbing him up. He just wants all of them. He wants to collect all of them.
He's like me. He's probably seeing really good deals, and he's like, "Oh, that's a good deal. Oh, that's a good deal."
Yeah, it's a good deal. That's a good deal. You got to collect them all. So we're on the phone, right? And it's so funny. So we're on the phone. He's on my Bluetooth. I'm at work, and he has some off time. We're talking. I'm like, he's online. I could tell he's in front of his computer. He's like, oh, there, this one. I'm like, you know what? Here's one for you that I've been keeping a secret. Not a secret. I never really thought about it.
Right.
Certina. He's like, yeah, Certina's a good brand. I'm like, yeah, it is. Look it up. Go to Joma Shop. It's like, okay. Like type this up. Okay. He types. I can hear him typing it. It's like, okay, all right, cool. Silence. I'm like, hello.
Hey, you there?
Hello.
Yeah.
Hey, P. Ross, you there? Oh my God. I think I'm in love. I'm like, are you serious? Or are you messing with me? He's like, no, man. I'm dead serious. This thing is gorgeous. I'm like, all right.
Okay.
He says that to everything, right? I'm like, oh, whatever. Grain of salt. Yeah, this thing is nice. So we're talking about it a little bit more. You start talking. I think I'm gonna have to pick this one up, man. I'm like, are you sure? Because I mean, I know it's a value, but it's $300.
It's a lot of money still, yeah.
He's like, no, I think I have to, man. All right, well, whatever. We ended the conversation. Like, I'll let you know.
Mm-hmm.
Kid you not. That was the afternoon. The next morning, he calls me. I got it. I bought
it.
Oh, I bought it already. I'm like, I'm happy for you. He was so excited. He bought it actually at the same time that I bought this. So he gets his watch, and kid you not, ever since he got that watch, which has been about a month, I've never seen him wear a watch more than that watch. And I think I might be wrong. He has not bought another watch since, aside from one that he bought from Omar, actually, because he had told him he was going to buy one. But he told him before he got the Certina around the same time.
Timex.
So the Timex, right? But aside from that, man, like the guy is super happy with that Certina. And that's one of those things, like now that's another example how you could take a guy that like literally every week was buying watches, but he got that Certina without.
Like, this one's good. This is it. This is the one.
He didn't know that was gonna happen. I didn't
Uh,
know that was gonna happen.
Interesting.
And
Okay.
it's crazy. And now with our Strapsco, collaboration that we have going on,
Right.
shout out to
Shout
Strapsco.
out
Where
Strapsco. Hey, you guys are great.
that's a great promotion. And this video is brought to you by
Yeah.
Straps.
Dang it! Now I gotta put the little. No, just.
Paid promotion. No, but he has a ton of straps, and he's having fun with it, man.
Good,
and
man.
and,
It's good
and
to
so
hear.
am I. And honestly, that's what collecting is all about. Just different experiences, different watches, and we will get that one. Believe me, mark my words, you will
Yeah.
get that one.
The day will come.
And it doesn't matter if it's $300, if it's $1,000, if it's $5,000. The price doesn't matter. It's just how the watch speaks to you, and it will come. It will come. I promise you that.
Cool.
I thought it was gonna be the glycine for you, to be honest with you. That
Yeah.
combat sub.
You know,
It's an
I've had so many watches. The Fuyugeshiki, my what am I trying to say? Oh, I just went blank. Oh, my Frederic Constant.
That's a beautiful watch too.
There's so many of them, man. My Reef Tiger, which is the Blancpain homage. I mean, it's like there's so many of them that are like, I love this watch. I love this watch. I love this watch. But I can't wear them all. And I have half of my collection right now is probably stuff that I don't wear and I'm starting to sell. I actually just sold my Lucien Piccard. That was the Omega 1894 homage. I sold that watch, and the guy, I sold it for what I paid, and he was like, nice. Hey, I can get these on Amazon right now. I was like, yeah, but you can't get that one. That one you cannot find in that colorway. Like, you can't. And he was like, yeah, you're right. And he paid me.
I think,
like, cool.
Now correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Joma Shop owns them now.
Joma Shop, I think so.
Okay.
And that was even one that you can't get on even Joma Shop in that color either. So
I was, what's so funny, my Fernando, collecting vintage watches, I think is his name of his YouTube channel in English, but Todo Reloj is his Spanish channel, which is huge. It's like 40,000+ subscribers.
Cool.
And he, for whatever reason, he's completely against micro brand watches. He does not like them. He bashes them, but he actually owns a Lucien Piccard, however you say that, and he actually likes it. And I'm like,
they're great watches,
man. Like a $50 watch. Like, what?
They're kind of one of those, like, some of their style. They remind me a little bit of, like, they can get a little Invicta-ish.
A little bit.
Not my, but they speak to some other guys out there, which is cool.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But yeah, that's one of those brands I'd never heard of, and I'm like, it was just a good value watch. But yeah, man, we could talk obviously watches all day, and I know
we could talk watches for hours.
Here we are. We're going on an hour, which is our set time, which is perfect. So I think we've given a lot of good tips, and I would say to you guys and gals out there, definitely drop your tips, comments down below as far as what we may have missed with buying used or vintage, process you may use, or if you have any success or horror stories you want to share for others out there. We would love to hear it, and we'd love interacting with you guys in the comments as always. Miguel, SoCal Watch Reviews, make sure you give him a follow. Go send some love if you're not already. Thanks for coming on the channel, buddy.
Hey, thanks for having me on. And yoga hands. I forgot to say yoga hands.
I forgot my yoga hands.
Dang it. I love saying yoga hands. I don't know why, but yeah, I'm a part of the Schwartz force. Keep it up, buddy. I love what you're doing. Honestly, your quality has been getting better, and I know you're one of those guys just like me that you look at your own work and you try to improve for the sake of doing it for yourself, which is great. Always do it for yourself, not for others. So keep up the great work, man.
Thanks, man. And we should have done this a long time ago. And also,
I agree.
I'll find the link for the podcast that I was on your podcast, that episode, so other people can check that out too.
Absolutely, man.
But we'll do another, and we'll have to get with P. Ross and do another as well. And
P. Ross, yeah.
Hey, it'll be fun. But as always, I look forward to seeing you guys at the next one. May the Schwartz be with you. Take care.